The Summer Everything Changed, written and performed by Jacob Abernathy, or He Reads to You on YouTube and Patreon. The night of graduation smelled like lilacs and asphalt, the strange blend of spring that hadn't decided if it wanted to linger or let summer in. I remember the air felt thick with endings, but soft too, as if it didn't want to rush us. The streetlights buzzed faintly above the football field where our whole town had gathered, folding chairs in rows that looked endless from where I stood, hidden behind the bleachers, clutching my cap too tightly. Mom kept saying it was supposed to be one of the happiest nights of my life, but the word supposed felt heavy in my chest. I could feel it pressing against my ribs as the crowd cheered for someone else's name. It wasn't unhappiness, not exactly, more like that quiet ache of standing between what you know and what you don't know. I could see the tassels of the other graduates swaying in rhythm when the breeze came through. The stage lights made everything glow, too bright, almost unreal. Behind me, the metal railing of the bleachers was still warm from the sun. I leaned against it for a second, grounding myself, breathing in deeply. "Hey," the voice came from my left. When I turned, Ethan was there, his gown half-zipped, hair a little too messy for the occasion. He had that lazy half-grin that always made it seem like the rules didn't apply to him. "You hiding?" he asked. "Maybe," I said. "Or stalling. Depends how you look at it." He laughed, quiet and familiar. "Maddie, stalling? You're usually the one dragging everyone else to things." "Yeah, well," I said, looking out at the field. "Maybe tonight I'm allowed to be a little dramatic." He leaned on the railing beside me, our shoulders almost touching. The crowd's applause echoed as someone's name was called, but I couldn't tell who. It didn't matter anymore. We were all just about to come names on a list. "You ready for this?" he asked after a pause. I thought I was. He didn't answer, just nodded a little, the way he did when words felt unnecessary. The stage lights flickered, and for a second the whole scene looked like a memory already. The glow, the laughter, the faint hum of the speaker feedback. I tried to memorize it, even though I didn't know why. When my name was called, my legs felt disconnected from the rest of me. I walked across the stage, smiled for the picture, and shook the principal's hand. My cap shifted slightly, but I didn't care. Everything blurred, faces, lights, even the sound of my parents cheering. And then it was over, just like that. 1 minute you're a high school senior, and the next you're standing in a sea of caps and polyester gowns, holding up a rolled diploma that still smells like ink, pretending that the future isn't as terrifying as it feels. Ethan found me in the crowd afterward. He tossed his cap into the air with everyone else, caught it clumsily, and grinned like the world had given him permission to breathe. "Freedom," he said. "You make it sound like we escaped prison." "Didn't we?" I laughed. For a moment, it felt easy, the kind of laugh that shakes something loose inside of you. We took a picture together, just one. His arm brushed against my back, and I told myself it didn't mean anything, that it was just what people did, that maybe I was imagining the warmth that lingered there. After the ceremony, the town emptied out toward the parking lot. The field lights dimmed, and the night took on that deep, quiet stillness that always comes after too much noise. I could see the glow of the diner sign down the street, the one that had flickered for as long as I could remember. Ethan glanced at it too. "Want to go?" I hesitated, glancing towards where my parents were standing with the camera, waving me over. "I'll meet them in a minute," I said. He nodded once, as if that was all the answer he needed. We walked down the hill toward the diner, our gowns flapping against our legs. The road was still warm, the pavement releasing its heat in slow waves. It smelled faintly of dust and cut grass. For a second, I thought about the first day we met, 8th grade, when he sat behind me in homeroom and kept tapping his pencil against my chair until I turned around and told him to stop. He had just smiled that same crooked smile he still had now, like he'd already known we'd end up friends. When we pushed open the diner door, the bell above it jingled, just like always. The booths were half full, mostly families still dressed from the ceremony, paper caps on tables, kids taking selfies in the reflection of the window. We slid into our usual booth, the one near the jukebox. The seat was cracked along the seam, and someone had left a faint heart scratched into the tabletop years ago. It had faded now, almost gone. "Feels weird," I said, running my finger along the mark. "What does?" "All of it. Being done." He shrugged. "You say that like it's a bad thing." I didn't say that. But you were thinking it. I smiled faintly. You think you know me that well? He leaned back, stretching his arm across the top of the booth. I know you better than anyone. The waitress, Janie, who'd been working here since forever, came over and poured us 2 coffees without asking. Graduation, huh? She said, smiling. You kids are all grown up now. Ethan grinned. We're trying. She winked. Don't rush it. The world's not going anywhere. The coffee was terrible, as always, but it felt comforting. I watched the steam curl and fade, the light catching the edge of the cup. Outside, cars passed slowly on Main Street, headlights cutting through the dark. Somewhere across the lot, someone turned up the radio. That old song that always played at the end of school dances, the one that made everyone sway awkwardly under the gym lights. Ethan looked at me, really looked, and for the first time that night, I couldn't tell what he was thinking. What? I asked. Nothing, he said, shaking his head. Just trying to remember this. This? This moment. You. The way the light hits you right now. I didn't know what to say to that, so I looked down, tracing the rim of my cup, pretending I didn't feel the heat in my cheeks. By the time we left the diner, the town was almost asleep. The air had cooled, and crickets had taken over the soundscape. My parents had probably gone home by then. Ethan offered me a ride, and I said yes before I could think twice. His car smelled like pine air freshener and faint cologne, the same scent it always had. The radio hummed low, static between stations, and we didn't talk much. Sometimes silence felt easier than words. He pulled into the overlook at the edge of town, the same spot where everyone went after games or late-night drives, where the city lights looked like another world. We sat on the hood of his car, legs stretched out, the metal cool beneath us. I can't believe it's over, I said. He looked out over the valley. It's not over, it's just changing. You make it sound poetic. Maybe I am. I laughed softly. You're definitely not. He grinned. Guess not. We sat there for a while, not needing to fill the space. The sky was clear, stars sharp and distant. I felt small in the best kind of way. Then, quietly, he said, You ever think about what happens next? All the time. And? I don't know. College, new people. Maybe I'll finally figure out what I'm supposed to be. He was quiet for a second. You don't have to figure it all out right now. I looked at him then. Do you ever think we'll lose this, the way things are? He didn't answer right away, but when he did, his voice was softer than I'd ever heard it. Maybe, but maybe that's what makes it matter. We didn't kiss that night. It feels important to say that. Not because I didn't want to, but because I think we both knew it wasn't time. The moment hung there between us anyway, humming with something unspoken. When he dropped me off, the porch light was still on. My house looked the same as always, the peeling paint on the steps, the wind chimes Mom hung over the door, but everything else felt slightly different, as if the world had shifted half an inch. Good night, I said. He nodded. Night, Maddie. I hesitated, my hand on the door handle. Thanks for tonight. Any time. As I walked up the steps, I turned once, and he was still there, leaning against the car, headlights off, just watching. Not in some strange way, in that quiet, steady way of his, like he was trying to make sure I really made it home. When I closed the door behind me, I pressed my back against it and let out a breath I hadn't realized I was holding. Later, lying in bed, I stared at the ceiling fan spinning slow circles. My gown was draped over the chair, my cap balanced on top. It all looked so ordinary, too ordinary for what it meant. The house was quiet except for the distant murmur of the TV in the living room. I could hear Mom laughing at something, her voice drifting down the hall. I thought about how Ethan had looked under those streetlights, his hair falling into his eyes, that half smile that always made me forget what I was about to say. It wasn't love yet, not the kind people wrote about or promised, but it was something, the start of something, maybe. As I drifted towards sleep, I realized the world didn't really end or begin that night. It just opened, like a door you didn't know was there until someone quietly pushed it. The next morning, the sun came through my curtain in stripes. The gown still hung there, a little wrinkled now, a reminder. Outside, I could hear the neighborhood waking, sprinklers, birds, the sound of someone mowing their lawn. It felt like the first day of something, though I couldn't have said what. All I knew was that summer had arrived, quietly and completely, and everything, even the smallest things, felt charged with possibility.